Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Friday, June 28th. And this is the weekday show, Monday through Friday. And today is Friday, right? So, what do we want to talk about today? I loved some of the comments of the generational thing, especially you, Keith. I just started laughing the minute, you know, you started doing with the bicycles and stuff. And I remember growing up, and there was that guy when my I lived on base when I was a kid, you know, early on, anyways. But there was always that one guy that knew how to fix the bike, and you could run over to him, whether it be spokes loose or. But he never charged anybody. He was happy to help out, and he had the same mentality, Keith, as you. It's like if they got their bikes, they'll keep them out of trouble, you know, and it did for the most part. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about more on, because the topic keeps getting broader and broader on, what should you charge and how much should you charge and what should you charge for. Okay, stay tuned to finish out the week. Alrighty, welcome back. If you didn't already know it, my name is Eric, and this is the weekday show, Monday through Friday, available on podcast. Today is Friday, the end of the week, guys. You made it. So, why is what you should charge so complicated sometimes? Well, I look at it from my own personal experience. Is my tendency to undervalue my time is very real. And when it comes to stuff coming into my shop, the charge varies, to be honest with you. I take into consideration a number of different things, all right? I call it the tier program. Go figure, right? But I've got the one tier that no matter what it is, and they're just so happy to have it fixed, and they're thrilled of the service, the level of service that you give them. Okay, that's tier one. That's my bread and butter. Okay, those are the customers that I want to retain. Then I have tier two. Tier two is my regular customers that for whatever reason may be having a difficult time in the economy, right? This day and age. So more and more of them are having problems. And they're trying to do their own stuff because they can't afford to send it to you. And in the end, they break it worse and it costs them more. And then I have my third tier, and that is my senior citizens, my seniors that I'm not too far away from, that are on a fixed income. They're probably, most of them that we have in our area, uh, don't have a retirement plan from wherever. They just get whatever Social Security gives them. An example is we have one older fella across the road, kind of kitty corner from the shop. His name is Merritt. And he gets around $700 a month. And 700 a month doesn't go very far. And he's putting away money every month to cover the taxes on the house that he still lives in. He doesn't drive a newer vehicle. It's an old Jeep that's, you can see rust anywhere on it. And then if you go farther up the road on the same side of the road, Merritt is in his 80s. Yeah. Is another good friend and neighbor. And he went out and bought a brand new riding lawnmower, but physically can't do a lot of the riding on the lawnmower anymore. But Merritt loves it. So the deal they worked out was Merritt, for the use of the lawnmower, the riding lawnmower, and the gas, mows both yards, his and the neighbor's. And if you go further up, she just passed away, but she was 93, 92 or 93. And we used to do her lawnmower for free. See, that's my third tier. You got to take care of the people in your village, your town. You know, it's not all about money. You know, a lot of people try to make it all about money, but it's really not. I mean, most of us are not looking to get rich. Most of us just want to carve out a living. And sometimes that's hard, right? And also what falls into that realm of the third tier are like your local churches. You know, they usually have somebody that mows the yard and stuff like that. And in our area, most of the churches have their own lawnmower. And we go ahead and do a service and get the mower ready for them as a way to give back to the community, okay? You don't want to do it to get seen more. You want to do it because it's the right thing, if that makes any sense to you. So, excuse me. So the first tier is the customers that are doing well, and you know it's like fix it, and they don't squabble about the bill. They're happy to pay it, etc., etc. And those are going to be your bread and butter, right? And we go back to you have to be honest with yourself and your customers. You know, you can't fake it till you make it. Either you're genuinely concerned about your fellow humans or you're not. But the second tier is maybe somebody's having a little rough time right now. What we've done here at our shop is what we call creative financing. And what I end up doing with those, and it's not for everybody, it's I handpick who gets to be on the special financing. Because you can get burnt, right? But what I tell those customers is, look, get your mower in here, let's get it serviced so you have a carefree summer, hopefully. And why don't we just span it over the summer months of so much a month until it's paid for. And that makes it manageable for them. You know, instead of having to come up with, let's say, $200, you take that $200 and divide it by 6 or 7, and so much a month. I don't charge interest. It's just pay me. And I always tell people that borrow money from me is the worst thing you can do is avoid me. If you don't have it, just tell me you don't have it, instead of trying to avoid me and the whole situation. Now, when it comes to trying to budget that out, it's going to have to be shop per shop, right? What you do in your shop is totally up to you. And I can tell you right now, you're going to run your shop different than the way I run my shop. There is not a uniform play card that we all go by. All right, this is what our shop should look like. This is what we should be charging an hour. This is what we should be doing for this and this and this. No, it's gonna have your own take, twist, whatever. It's about you, right? And your sense of purpose and your sense of community. Now, Reezer brought up, where he was following along pretty good until it got to the point of, charging a diagnostic fee for every piece of equipment that comes in. And I said it in the videos, I just thought, it should be a well known or given in that video. But that's probably the first video that he's watched or she's watched. Is that if I can get it done within that first hour or two, there is no diagnostic fee. I just go ahead and fix it. And I'll be honest with you, most of the stuff is coming through depending upon what your hourly rate is. After a couple hours, you're starting to make it past that halfway mark, right? What I call, if it's going to cost more than half, it's not that you're not going to get the repairs or do the repairs. That's where you involve the customer and allow the customer to make an informed decision. Give him or her your best advice and, in layman's terms, explain to him what's going on. But most of the stuff that comes through the shop, I can have knocked out within that first hour. I don't charge a diagnostic fee and then an hourly rate on top of that. No, that's double jeopardy. You only get to charge once for your time. Whether it be $40 an hour, $30 an hour, $55 an hour, or $120. A lot of it's going to be location. But that brings us back to, what should I charge an hour? That's totally in your scope. It all depends on location, location, location. If your customer base is, well off, you're probably going to charge more. But if you're living in a smaller town where the population is getting older and retiring, and there's not a lot of young families and businesses and that stuff, you're probably going to have to charge less, right? Or you're not going to get any work. So a lot of it is location. And what I've found in life is never chase the money. And when I say that, you can charge $120 an hour if you want. And if you can get away with it, all fine and dandy. But I'm here to tell you that most independent guys that are running their own shops, that are staying away from warranty and all the other stuff, are not anywhere near 120. As I explained there in the other day in the video on the 120, a lot of it is based on those guys that are posting their hourly rate for warranty. And their bread and butter is the warranty work. It's not the customer that I have for my bread and butter. No, their bread and butter is coming from the owners of those brands that are warranting, right? So, and most of these corporate, 120 really isn't nothing an hour. Because they spread it out over the total, right? And they're expecting to have so much wrong with a machine. So the 120 an hour is feasible to them because their bread and butter is the manufacturers. Whereas if your bread and butter is from customers like mine, they are independently wealthy. They're doing okay, and they feel comfortable at 55 an hour without any questions. You got to find that sweet spot of where you're happy and your customer's happy. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of warranty work, crank it up, because the manufacturers are used to seeing 120, 130 an hour. That's probably pretty much the norm. And I remember when we signed on for warranty work, we were at 40, and they were flabbergasted. They were like, 40? Yeah. But the problem I ran into is 95% of the stuff is you can't fix stupid. It's not warranty. And if you're being honest with yourself, your customer, and the manufacturer, then you got to go back and build a customer. If they run over a piece of pipe in the yard, is it the manufacturer's fault that the blade bent? Or it got hit so hard that it took the belt off and the belt got caught in one of the pulleys and shredded it? No. I don't want to start rounding this up, but I wanted to put out another food for thought, type thing. Is your hourly rate is what's going to either get you more work or get you less work. I know you're saying, what do you mean by that? All right. Let's take a weed trimmer. And let's say $150 you can go out and buy another weed eater, right? Gas powered, 2-stroke, 4-stroke. And the cubbies are like 200. Steels are like 300. But let's start with the big dealerships, charging $1.20, $1.30 an hour, 130. Their mentality and how they look at prospective jobs is going to be different than the guy that is charging $55 an hour, the guy that is charging $35 an hour, and the guy that's charging $20. Hear me out. See, the golden rule is if you can fix it for under half of what a new one costs, a lot of times the customer is, yes, go ahead and fix it. Now, as you approach that middle ground and above, not so much. All right. So we had that $150 weed trimmer, and the customer takes it to dealership number 1. The big dealer, and he's charging or she's charging $130 an hour. They don't even want to see that. They don't, because within the first hour, and they're going to bill you for an hour, another $20, you can go get a brand new one with a warranty. So they're going to turn that kind of work away. They don't want it because it's wasting their time, right? All right, so now that brings it down to the next dealer number 2, and he's charging or she's charging $55 an hour. Now, that sweet spot of the halfway or less is now an hour and a half, right? But you got a good hour there. And I tell you, to be honest with you, most stuff can be fixed within that first hour when it comes to handhelds, really. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, right? But anything over that, it's not feasible for dealer 2 to monkey with it, right? So let's take it to dealer number 3 that's at $40 an hour. Now their sweet spot is more than a couple hours, right? Or almost a couple hours. And dealer number 4 or 5, wherever I was at 30, can put more time into it and fix it. So, in all honesty, the one at 30 will get most of the work, right? Because for what they're charging an hour, they can get that fixed under that halfway point. And let's say it takes 2 hours to fix it. So your $30 and your 45 are going to be close to where they can get it fixed. Where anything above that for the 2 hours isn't feasible for the first two. You see what I'm saying? If you're going to deal with non-warranty work, and that's going to be the bulk of your customers, then you could price yourself out of the game. And you can price yourself into that mentality of, well, I know it's going to take at least an hour, so I'm not even going to bother with it. And the funny thing is, I've seen those big dealers take that work on that are charging $130 an hour to work on a $150 weed eater and charge an hour and a half's labor plus parts. Really. So on that note, guys, you guys have a great Friday, and I'll see if I can throw up another good video today, maybe on repairing or educating. And on that note, you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.